Chapter 29: Peer and Collaborative Learning. Students learning from each other is effective. This can be informal or incorporated into scheduled activities. Recognition of peer to peer learning. Watching my 5-year-old grandson learn to use a computer, I noted that he did not learn from the instruction manual, from his parents, or from instruction at school. He learned from his 7-year-old sister. This is not surprising. Much of what we learn in day to day life is from friends and colleagues. It has always been a feature of how students learn at medical school. The difference today is that the value of learning in this way is appreciated and is given a more formal role in the curriculum. Students engaged in peer to peer and collaborative learning tend to have a greater mastery of the expected learning outcomes with higher test scores, higher self esteem, greater interpersonal skills, and a greater understanding of the content they are studying. A range of terms such as P2P learning, collaborative learning, and cooperative learning have been used to describe how students can learn with and from each other in formal and informal settings. Distinctions are sometimes drawn between the terms, but frequently they are used interchangeably. P2P learning. P2P learning has been defined by topping as people from similar social groupings who are not professional teachers helping each other to learn and learning themselves by teaching. In near-peer assisted education programs, the teacher is a trainee or student 1 or more years senior to another student. In P2P learning, one student assumes the role of teacher or tutor while other students assume the role of learners or tutees. Students may switch their role from tutor to tutee. Usually, to guide students in their role as tutor, some instruction is given in teaching skills. Collaborative learning. In collaborative learning, students learn from each other without the assignment of specific roles of tutor and tutee. Students work together as members of a group or team to solve a problem, complete a task, or create a product. It is through working together that the students learn. There is a sharing of authority and acceptance of responsibility among group members for the group's actions. The group may be assessed by the activity and product of the group rather than the individual's activity or achievements within the group. The term cooperative learning rather than collaborative learning has been used where there is more structure and organization given to the group activity, but the terms are often used interchangeably. Examples of P2P and collaborative learning. P2P or collaborative learning may be adopted in the medical curriculum in a range of formats. Here are some examples. Students are given the role of tutor in slots scheduled in the curriculum. Students form informal partnerships to assist each other. Students work in groups in the context of problem or team-based learning. Students work in pairs facilitating each other's learning. Students collaborate in a project or in practical work such as anatomical dissection. Students work as members of an interprofessional group in a community-based project. Students work online as members of a formal discussion group with a specific task as the focus. Students share their experiences and information with others through a social network such as Facebook. Students collaborate in the development of educational resources or textbooks that they share with others. Students have the responsibility for assessing each other's achievements in an area such as professionalism. Students in more senior years or junior doctors teach junior students. Benefits to be gained by P2P and collaborative learning. The institution or medical school and the learner can benefit in a number of ways if P2P collaborative learning is incorporated in the curriculum. Students can learn effectively from their peers, in particular where there are problems relating to handling complex concepts. Learning outcomes less easily achieved through other methods are promoted. These include interpersonal skills, communication skills, higher level thinking skills, skills of critical appraisal, and team working skills. Students are helped to develop their confidence and self esteem. Students are prepared for lifelong learning as the classroom more closely resembles real life social and employment situations. Students' satisfaction with the learning experience is enhanced, with a more positive attitude developed towards the subject matter. Students are encouraged to appreciate diversity and to reflect and appreciate different viewpoints and perspectives brought to the discussion by other students. Learners working online at a distance have a supportive community environment. Additional support for student learning is provided at a time when there is pressure on staff student ratios. An educational environment is created within the institution where collaboration is valued. A student-centered learning approach is supported with students taking more responsibility for their own learning. Teaching is a powerful learning tool. To teach is to learn twice. Students feel engaged and have some ownership of the curriculum. The concept of the student as an assessor of other students is supported, particularly in areas such as attitudes and professionalism. Students receive significant feedback as part of the learning activity, which is not always possible in other situations, particularly in large group learning. Students' skills as teachers are developed in line with recommendations from accrediting bodies that medical graduates must be able to demonstrate appropriate teaching skills. Experience gained as a student teacher may encourage some students to seek an academic career. Implementation in practice. The successful implementation of P2P and collaborative learning has much in common with the general curriculum development principles described elsewhere in this book. It is important to clarify the expected learning outcomes to ensure that planning and preparation is adequate, that the process is facilitated by an appropriate education environment, and that there is a match between assessment and teaching and learning. Some specific recommendations are noted below. P2P learning. The following tips contribute to successful P2P learning. Incorporate P2P learning formally into the curriculum and do not consider it only as an add-on extra. Schedule the P2P sessions and make the necessary arrangements for students to sign up. Decide whether students' attendance is obligatory or whether P2P sessions are optional. Ensure that both the tutors and tutees are aware of how P2P learning contributes to the mastery of the learning outcomes of the course. It is sometimes claimed that the tutor gains as much, if not more, than the tutee. This includes mastery of teaching skills. Ensure that student tutors are fully briefed and have training in the necessary skills. They may be assisted with the provision of learning resources to support the learning. P2P tutors should have ongoing mentoring and coaching by staff. Shows the form of P2P learning that is most appropriate for your situation. This may involve students in the same year or more senior students or junior doctors acting as tutors. In planning and organizing P2P learning, a team approach involving both staff and students is useful. As with all learning experiences, P2P should be monitored and evaluated. Collaborative learning. The success of collaborative learning can depend on how it is implemented. Explain to the students the benefits of the collaborative learning approach and the expected learning outcomes, including the development of interpersonal skills and mastery of the subject content. It is important that they accept them. Collaborative learning can be at its most effective with heterogeneous groups where students tend to interact and achieve more compared to working with students more closely matched in their abilities and background. The learning tasks can be structured so that students must depend on each other for completion of the task. This involves trust building, conflict management, encouragement, and negotiation within the group. Each student should be held accountable for doing his or her own share of the work. One interprofessional group we saw, as described in Chapter 18, worked well because the solution to the problem presented required the theoretical knowledge of the medical student members of the group and the practical knowledge of the midwives. It is important that sufficient time is allocated to collaborative learning. Students need to complete the required tasks and achieve the expected learning outcomes. This creates an atmosphere of achievement in the group. Some of the social benefits may become apparent only after the group has worked together for a number of weeks. Students should have the opportunity within their small group to reflect upon and reply to the diverse responses from other group members. The exchange of views in the group should help students to understand better the issues and concepts being discussed. It is important to recognize that just because students are working in small groups, it does not mean that they are engaging in collaborative learning. You need to be sure that students are cooperating with regard to their own learning and the learning of others in the group. Each member of the group should contribute to the work and product of the group so that the end result will be better than that achieved by one student, even the best, working independently. Encourage students in the group to explain the concepts or principles to others and allow for the explanation to be discussed by the group. This can lead to effective learning for the members of the group. The group activities should be organized in such a way that the learning success of each individual and the group as a whole is recognized. We saw this achieved in one setting where an individual at the end of the week was chosen by the teacher at random to present the work of the group. The group was given a mark based on the individual's performance. The group had to sink or swim together, monitor the group activity and the progress being made by the students in the group. The teacher, when facilitating a group, should provide assistance and clarification if required. It is important that the teacher does not dominate the session and convert it into a mini lecture.